Good morning, children. I am Dr. Kalpana Chaturvedi, PGT English, KVBFJ, Jabalpur region. Once again, I am here with you to have a discussion on the famous poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, written by Stephen Spender. In the previous video, we saw the miserable life of children living in the slum, poor condition of the classroom where they were sitting, a neglected school which was never monitored, never cared by anybody. And we also saw two contrasting worlds, especially in these two stanzas. The world which is shown in the pictures which were hung on the walls. This world was a world of rich people, world of civilized people, and the real world which can be seen outside the windows of the classroom, and that was slum, ridden by disease, dirt, squalor, and gloominess. So the poet is quite unhappy to see these two contrasting worlds brought together. In fact, he thinks that these pictures which are hung on the wall and which are donated pictures actually not purchased as per the requirement of these children but donated one. He thinks that these pictures not only meaningless to these children because they don't belong to that rich world, but also they can be dangerous. How? This is what we are going to see today in these last two stanzas of the poem. So let's begin. Children, I would like to show you two pictures here which can resume your memory of the first video quite well. If you look at this picture, it can very well summarize the first video. See the condition of the classroom. It's quite pathetic. Children sitting, distracted and dejected. Atmosphere is quite dull and drab. One sweet young boy dreaming of a squirrel's game. Shakespeare's portrait is hung, world map is hung. So here as a whole it wants to say that two contrasting worlds are brought together. One, these pictures are showing, that is the world of riches and prosperity, and another which they can see inside the classroom as well as outside the classroom, and that is slum. The same picture is this, you can see. It's also showing one of such slum classrooms, and look at the condition of the children. All are looking at different directions. Probably no teacher is there inside the classroom, or one child with weighed down head. It seems to be like that, trying to read something. Two unnoted children can be seen in a corner. Condition of the wall is portraying the tough life of slum. And in this situation, if you show the pictures of Shakespeare, world map, Tirolese Valley, or a civilized world, just imagine how it pains the heart of the poet. Because these children hardly understand what is the meaning of beauty of art, what's the meaning of beauty of nature, what's the meaning of taste of intellect, and we are showing such pictures to them which are donated, not purchased. If they had been purchased, they would have fulfilled their requirement, but they are donated. so they are just pasted on the walls. With this, the poet goes to the third stanza. So far, we saw that how those hung pictures were meaningless to the children of slum classroom, as those pictures were showing a very different world, in fact just opposite to the world of these children. Now the poet doesn't stop here. He's still angry with these pictures which are hung on the wall. We'll see why. So let's see in the third stanza. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night. On their slag heap, these children wear skins, peep through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass like bottle bits on stone. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So blot their maps with slum as big as doom. Now we will see in this stanza, the poet has referred three words: love, sun, and ships. These three words are directly connected to the posters hung on the walls, as love is the theme of Shakespeare's writing, which shows or signifies the aesthetic world, then sun, which can be related to the tireless valley and which is exemplifying beauty of nature, and finally ships. It can be connected to that picture which is showing the advanced world. So it signifies the rich and prosperous world. In this way, he says that with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, it means these pictures showing aesthetic beauty, showing beauty of nature, or showing power of money. They are tempting them to steal. Obviously, they are tempting them. They are alluring these children. And we can see how these pictures are showing a very different world from that of the children. Here, a comparative study is given, which you can see. In the first column, it is given world of pictures or posters, which is showing the world of love, sun, and ships. It's a rich, advanced, affluent, splendid, aesthetic, prosperous, colorful, and beautiful world. While the real world of the children, which can be seen outside the windows of the classroom, is the world of slum, which is devoid of basic needs, dirty, full of dirt, squalor, and garbage, sulky and sullen, ridden by diseases, decaying and deterioration. The world shown in the pictures promises a healthy and bright future to its children, while in their real world there is a least hope for good future because it is painted with uncertainty and dismay. So the poet says, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example. Children, it sounds quite strange. How can Shakespeare be wicked? And how can a map a bad example? Sounds quite strange. But see how the poet proves it right, but in some other meanings. He says, as a result, the attractive and appealing world of riches displayed in the pictures allures these children sitting in the classroom and forces them to grab it by hook or by crook. because this world is quite alluring, quite tempting, quite attractive. So they just want to grab it by all means. But their harsh reality of slum does not allow them to attain it. And if they cannot attain it by fair means, what they will do? They can try to snatch it or steal it. In this way, these children can easily adopt the path of crime unknowingly. And in this way, they can move on the path of crime quite easily. In this way, so far, their life was only full of fog. That means it was uncertain or it was full of obstacles or gloominess. But after adopting the path of crime, their life turns to endless nights of sorrow and suffering, which never ends. Because we all know the path of crime is full of sorrow, is full of tortures, full of pain, full of difficulties. And the poet has described the condition of these children as cramped holes. He means by that a want of life giving an easy way to crime to enter secretly. It is used cramped hole. Cramped holes are used as metaphor. That means it is those shortcomings of their lives which create holes through which crime can easily enter. It means these children are living a deprived of life, so it's quite easy to adopt the path of crime, to steal or to grab. This is the reason why the poet calls Shakespeare as wicked and Map a bad example. Because these things, instead of doing anything good, they are pushing them to the world of crime. So, surely these pictures are not good examples. The poet writes, "On their slag heap, these children wear skins, peeped through by bones." Here you can see in this picture how the bones are coming out of their skin. It seems as if they will come out of the skin. It is because of their malnutrition, undernutrition or hunger. Dear children, this is the cruel reality of our time, that such children are living and surviving with this condition. And the poet says that these children who are looking so thin and skinny that it seems that they are wearing skin on their bones. It means there is no flesh between the bones and skin due to undernutrition. Here, the figure of speech used by the poet is personification, in which bones as a non-living things are imparted human qualities of peeping through. Now have a look at this second picture. This is the way these two children can be seen in the mid of the garbage. And this is the same condition where this slum classroom is situated. So the poet calls it as a slag heap, that on their slag heap these children wear skins. This slag is a waste product which is thrown out, and it seems as if this slum is the slag of the society. It also suggests the body of the children as a slag, which is as a heap of slag, and on which they wear skins. This is the most piteous condition of the children described by Stephen Spender. And now if we move further, he says that some children, they wear damaged spectacles made of heavy and cheap steel which are probably repaired. It signifies their inability to buy new glasses due to their miserable and pathetic condition. This piteous and helpless situation of the children makes the poet feel pricking of pieces of glasses bottled on a stone. Sorry, it makes the poet feel pricking of pieces of glass bottles on a stone. It means the cracks in the glass of the spectacle pricks the eyes of the poet. It pains his heart to see their helpless situation. This mended glass which they are wearing is really are of no use, but they are unable to buy a new set, so they are wearing in their helplessness. Thus, it signifies the piercing poverty of these children. Next, the poet says, all of their time and space are foggy slum. Children, as you know that human life is restricted by two factors. One is time and the second is space. It means which time period you belong to will influence your life and will decide your lifestyle. Similarly, which part of the world you belong to will also affect your life and lifestyle. But these children of slum classroom, they have been ridden by slum as the universal reality. It means this slum has overpowered them to such an extent that it is not going to be affected even by time and space also. And slum seems to have become a universal reality with them. If we define it in terms of time, we can say that slums are almost same everywhere in the world and existed in the past, prevailing in present and will never be finished, if such schools also remain in a slum. So slum seems to have broken the two greatest barrier of time and space, as well as are unaffected by them. So the poet says, so plots their maps with slums as big as tomb. It means the poet protests against the disparity between the two worlds, the rich and the poor. He wants that poor should also enjoy social equality and justice. Thus, the map showing only the rich world must be plotted with slums as big as doom. As slum is the reality of these children, not this map. In this way, he wants to finish the gap between the rich and the poor world. It means the gap must be reduced between the two worlds, and it expresses the poet's anger and protests against the social injustice. The final stanza of the poem. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break, oh break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves. Open history theirs, whose language is the sun. Now we will see what does the poet mean by governors, inspectors and visitors. Actually, these are the authorities which take care of these schools. Governors means the government authorities, inspectors, that means the educational officers, and visitors, any important persons or rich persons or social workers like we have NGOs, etc. These are the authorities which can bring a change into the life of these children by looking after their schools and can abridge this gap. But unfortunately, they hardly bother to visit such schools because they are situated in a slum. And if no responsible authorities visit these schools and take any genuine steps to improve their condition and education, this elementary school situated in a slum will turn to their graves like catacombs. It's a simile which is used by the poet to show that this school, it will remain not as an educational institute, but it will turn to a grave where these children one day will be buried, because nobody is coming to take care of them, nobody is coming to take out of this slum. And here the poet has used this, their shutting upon their lives like catacombs, as a simile. Catacombs means underground cemetery. So, once again, it expresses the poet's sorrow and anguish to see the miserable condition of these children. Break, oh break open, till they break the town. When the poet writes this poem, this line, he means to say that all those obstacles which come as a hurdle or which confine them into a slum must be broken. Everything that binds them should be broken. In fact, the line which divides the two worlds, the rich world of the town and the slum at the outskirts of the city, must be broken so that the children of the slum can be united with the mainstream of the society. And the disparity between the two worlds will be finished forever. Here, repetition of break is used to lay stress on the dire need of finishing the slum entirely. An alliteration of sound O expresses the poet's intense desire to take these children to an open field from the narrow street of slum. In this way, the poet doesn't want any marginalization of the children as slum children. He wants they must be united with the mainstream of the society. Dear children, so far we have seen that the poet is quite unhappy and angry with this elementary school, and he doesn't want this school in a slum. And he doesn't think that it's giving the right education to the children. In fact, this school, it can become their grave, according to the poet. Then obviously a question comes to our mind, then what's the poet's vision of education which can really do something good to these children? And these last 3-4 lines of the poem give the poet's vision of education which he actually wants to these children. Let's have a look. The first line, when he says break, oh break open till they break the town, it means the very first thing he wants, that there should be no slum in the life of these children, nor in any parts of the world. In fact, he wants to remove that line which divides these children from the other children of the mainstream of the society. He wants to just break that line. And second thing, the very first thing, that he doesn't want any slum in their life. So obviously he wants the children must be brought out of the slum and allowed to breathe in an open field, in a green field. He wants that they should run on the green fields and they should enjoy the blessings of nature and then learn into the lap of nature. Their world should extend the blue sky, rising over the golden sands, far away from shackles of foggy narrow streets and lead sky. So the very first thing he wants, that that they should be brought out from this slum and they should be made free to live in the lap of nature. And then they should learn the book of nature. This thought is given by a metaphor, white and green leaves, when he says that let the pages of wisdom be opened for them through nature. This white and green leaves, is a pages of books. Leaves means pages of books. Usual book is white and black, but this book he says white and green leaves. That means the book of nature. So it means he wants the children should learn from nature. It is because nature gives us three great ideals of life, that is freedom, equality, and fraternity. These are the three great ideals which became the basic principle of the great French Revolution. So these children must learn from nature that they are free souls. Nobody has a right to govern them. And they are equal to others. They are nowhere inferior to any other children. And they have full right to live in coexistence with the other parts of the world with all honor and dignity. And the moment they understand these three things, I think their education will be completed. Then they will be ready to make their own history. And it will instill a desire in these children to move on the path of knowledge. So he says, history theirs, let them make their own history, whose language is the sun. It means let their tongues express themselves freely without any fear. Then only they can create their own history, as only those people create a history whose language has the warmth and strength of the sun. Thus, the poet wishes these children that they should imbibe the vigor of the sun, which symbolizes the light of knowledge. Then only they will be enlightened with knowledge and will become a part of the society and will be shining like the sun in the world of wisdom. So I think this picture gives the vision of the poet of education to these slum children, which can be taken as a final message. It's a step from slums to school. Yes, leave slums and move to school. This group of pictures is also giving the same thought. If you watch at all these pictures, you can see how they are giving the message of the poem, the theme of the poem. So I'm leaving these pictures with you to understand and to grasp the meaning of the poem. Now we will see some interesting facts related to the poem. The first one which we come across is Stephen Spencer's love of nature and his regards to nature, which reminds us the great romantic poet William Wordsworth, who is known as the greatest worshipper of nature. When we read Spencer's lines, let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves, it reminds us Wordsworth's famous line from the table turn, One impulse from a vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good, than all the sages can. So they both are saying that nature is the best teacher and we must go into the lap of nature and learn what life is. Now, if we look at the technique of the poem, as you know, each poem contains two parts. One, what to say, that means the content part, and second, how to say. And this is called technique. Technique is nothing but, you can say, the embellishment of a poem which makes it differ from a piece of prose. These are kinds of ornaments which decorate the poem and give its own special identity. So some special features of technique of the poem are referred here, like figures of speech. So while discussing the poem, we have already done our study related to metaphor, use of metaphor, simile, personification, imagery, alliteration, repetition, symbols, etc. So I'm not giving them once again. It will be only a repetitive one. Then some more features of technique of the poem, like mood. Mood of the poet is usually brooding throughout the poem. Then his feeling begins with a very sad and sorrowful feelings. We find anguish and anger in him later on when he wants this map to be blotted with slum, and his protest against these pictures showing rich world, which he thinks are the biggest cause of social injustice. And if we talk about rhyming scheme, basically it is free verse, as no fixed rhyming scheme is there. So far diction and language is concerned, the most striking feature of this poem is that its expression or sentences are incomplete in syntax. Means, I'm not saying that entire poem, but mostly phrases or half-finished sentences have been used by the poet in this poem, especially in the beginning stanzas of the poem. And this he has done intentionally to symbolize the incomplete life of the children of a slum. But when he gives his own desire, his own wish that he wants to break the slum, he wants to bring the children out of the slum into the lap of nature, sentences start getting completed. Means now healthy sentences start coming. So this is the way he wants to suggest that if his vision of education is followed by these children, their life will become complete. So this is the way we can say that by the use of different types of expressions, he has given his message of the poem quite beautifully. Now assignment. Once again, there are some extracts taken from stanza 3rd and 4th, and short questions are asked, which are generally asked in your exam also, like what does the poet call a slag heap, then why do these children wear skins, what is compared as bottle bits on stone, which figure of speech is used in this line, in which context the poet has used words time and space. The 4th question, you should remember that you have to give the thought of slum as the universal reality of these children, which the poet wants to give. If such schools are situated in a slum? Please note down. Now, second question. This extract has been taken from the last stanza, and some questions are framed based on this extract, like where does the poet want to take the children of slum? It's already given. Then you have to explain whose language is the sun. What does the poet mean by saying this phrase? And then there is a matchmaking. Three figures of speech are given here: personification, visual imagery, and auditory imagery. And expressions from the poem are given here. You have to match them. I think they are very easy. Now, assignment number 3, that is short questions. You have to answer them briefly in around 30-40 words. Why does the poet call one child as the paper seaming boy? Then what's sour cream was? Why does the poet call Shakespeare as wicked and Map a bad example? What's the poet's vision of education for these children? And then you have to find out examples of alliteration used in the poem. There are many examples of alliteration. It means repetition of initial sound in the same line. So you have to find out 3-4 examples. I hope you have taken down. Now we will see the last question. In the comment section of this video, you have to give at least one suggestion on the issue. What genuine efforts can we make to these children to remove the blot of slum from their lives forever? You can give your suggestions, your views. So with this thought, once again I take your leave, and with the hope that soon the time will come when there will be no slum. All the children will live a happy and prosperous life.